It's that time of year, Halloween, where witches ride brooms and ghosts go boo, and Mexico puts on a fabulous party to herald the Day of the Dead. And we are turning up the stories this week. Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where stories matter. From the Kaleidoscope Studios, Deshani Herath, Kolam Jaffna, and fast, fresh, and right on cue, CDB News in a Blick. Lonely Planet says that Jaffna is one of the best cities to visit in 2026. On Kaleidoscope Vibe, we hone in on one of the reasons, Jaffna's heritage, art and craft. Where does art end and craft begin? In Jaffna, that line blurs beautifully through Kolam, the language of pattern and heritage. Once drawn at doorways as sacred geometry, Kolam now re-emerges through the hands of artists who weave, sculpt, dye and paint new meaning into tradition. Curated by visual artist and art historian T. Shanadhanan, this Barefoot Gallery exhibition, titled Side by Side, brought together Sundara Manojan, Balachandran Kajipan, Mano Prasad and Vincent Chantiradas Vimal, creators who dare to cross boundaries. From hand-woven fabrics and palm leaf sculptures to pigment-washed paintings and hand-painted saris, each piece reclaims the power of making as thinking. Because the divide between art and craft isn't just aesthetic, it's historical, political, and deeply human. Find Kaleidoscope on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Follow, like, and subscribe to stay in the loop. A huge thank you to our partners, CDB, Selico Life, and The Daily Morning, for making every episode possible.
She wins with CDB Wings, exclusive financial solutions for women.
Quick, sharp, unmissable. It's your week at a glance with CDB News in a Blick. The number of Sri Lankans leaving for overseas employment drops by 5% in the first 6 months of 2025 to 143.37. Foreign holdings in Sri Lanka's government securities hit 131 billion rupees, the highest since 2023. And here's what's happening in our markets this week. The All Share Price Index was steady at above 22,750 points, but lower than the 22,850 all-time high recorded last week. As the 8 OPEC Plus nations are set to meet to discuss December 2025 production quotas, the Saudi Arabia-led group is leaning towards a modest month-over-month increase, which has brought back WTI prices to $60 per barrel this week. Gold prices inched higher after falling below $4,000 per ounce to a 3-week low, ahead of a widely expected interest rate cut from the US Federal Reserve, although signs of easing US-China trade tensions kept upward movement in check. Sri Lanka is placed second at the South Asian Athletics Championship in a haul of 16 gold medals in a tally of 40. Chamodyod Singh and Safia Yamik emerge as South Asia's fastest man and woman. Global fashion brand Michael Kors donates $2.7 million to the UNWFP for Sri Lanka's National School Meals Program. Cameroon's 92-year-old President Paul Biya wins his 8th term in office and is still the world's oldest head of state.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. SriLanka Life.
And now we have Kaleidoscope SriLanka Life Dialogues. October marks the International Day of Rural Women, which is also a reminder that climate disasters hit rural women the hardest. Globally, 80% of those displaced by climate change are women, many losing livelihoods tied to land and water. But there is hope for women in Sri Lanka. Over 1 million MSMEs now stand to benefit from the very first Climate Resilience Revolving Fund under the National CDRFI vision. Led by Chrysalis with global partners, it boosts preparedness and resilience. I caught up with Deshani Herat to discuss this on Kaleidoscope SriLanka Live Dialogues. What are the climate-induced disasters facing MSMEs?
Most obvious disasters are linked with the very heavy rain periods. So most of the MSC businesses, their operations, assets get impacted by the floods and landslides. But there are different type of disasters that are not actually very visible, but such as like the extreme heat or fungal infections due to heavy humidity period due to the long prolonged rain periods. So this will be impacted on the agriculture MSMEs as well as textile MSMEs. Especially we have identified that extreme heat is becoming a huge problem for the MSMEs. We have some case studies in our garment textile area that the productivity of the labor productivity is going reducing during the daytime of the period because of the heat. So there are so many actually impacts, but these are the main concerns for the MSMEs at the moment in Sri Lanka.
How will this fund actually address the challenges faced by MSMEs?
We have identified that there is not a particular tailor-made financial instrument for MSMEs to recover from the climate-induced disasters. Therefore, we thought that it is better to develop such product and pilot test and see how this mechanism can be connected with the existing scenarios in the ground level and check the reality how this is going to work.
This is a revolving mechanism. Yes. So how are repayments and reinvestments structured to ensure continued sustainability and support for MSMEs?
The initial beneficiaries of this fund will be the registered MSMEs in the district consortiums. So in a situation of a disaster, this revolving fund is to act as a recovery fund for the needed MSMEs, and also it has to be quick as possible as it can be, it has to be very hassle free, and it should be a very low cost product. So that's the main ultimate goal of this Climate Resilience Revolving Fund. So to enable it to be sustained, we have introduced the fund. There's a repayment mechanisms, how the mechanism should be worked on. We have provided those information in the revolving fund guideline. So we were requesting them post-dated checks for the period of the revolving fund, their loan amount term. So this fund is going to the MSMEs as a loan. So there is like 6-month loan period and the 1-year loan period. So this time period they have to provide the post-dated checks, because we have to enable the sustainability. We cannot be stop the fund by once the first loan cycle will be finished. So there is a mechanism is there. We have provided them trainings and capacity buildings to the SME consortiums, how to manage this fund as in a very subtle way, but have to be obtain the sustainability of fund as well.
What are the mechanisms that you have in place to ensure that these MSMEs in these provinces can actually access the fund?
We have 4 consortiums in Badulla, Nuwara Matale and Monaragala districts. This particular fund is developed to gain the practical local experience from the ground level to go for the proper sustainable risk transfer mechanisms in future. Provided them with the trainings and capacity buildings, how to access the fund, the process of the fund, and everything will also in line right now at the moment. Since the fund management is done by the consortium itself, but the fund is actually guided by the GA office and Chrysalis. Therefore, the whole process is transparent to all. So anyone can come and require, and if any information we can provide them. And also the consortium is liable to provide monthly, quarterly and annual reports to the GA office and also for the Chrysalis as well.
And that's a wrap on Kaleidoscope. We'll be back next week, stepping into the brand new month of November.